There are a few sports that are truly timeless, and boxing is one of them. Of course, the boxers playing the sport are to credit for that, with such legendary performances that even years later, they're still known for their craft by people of all ages. So let's just get right into some of the best boxers of all time and the fights that made them such. Starting with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is known worldwide for his spectacular performances, and it's no secret that he is the boxer with the most box office success in the previous decades, maybe even in the entirety of boxing history. Mayweather has faced, fought, and beat 23 of the ring's top 10 fighters in their divisions, along with 15 champions in a row, world champions, between his first fight against Genaro Hernandez and his last fight against Conor McGregor. Mayweather vs. De La Hoya. Floyd Money Mayweather was at the very beginning of his incline to stardom when he first met Oscar De La Hoya in 2007. Little did he know, his fight with De La Hoya would be the win that would catapult him into superstardom. The fight took place on Cinco de Mayo, and Mayweather was all ready to celebrate, walking into the ring in a theatrical Mexican outfit. It's a known fact that Mayweather was a great showman. He knew exactly how to make the audience want to watch him, and this fight wasn't any different. It was almost like the fighter knew that he'd be making a record payday before he even stepped into the ring and landed a single blow on his opponent. And he was right. Mayweather won against De La Hoya after 12 rounds by split decision. Later, he sported a $25 million check, which is a modest reward. Next up, we got Tony Canzoneri. Canzoneri is one of the best fighters in boxing history, with wins against the best fighters from lightweight, bantamweight, and welterweight. His fighting records has countless multi-fight rivalries, with him beating 40 top 10 fighters. An example of this is a round-robin fight, which is a tournament in which each competitor plays in turn against every other competitor, and that was with Jimmy McLarnin, Billy Petrol, and Barney Ross. So get this, 11 of said top fighters were either reigning champions or ranked as #1 contenders. Canzoneri vs. Kid Chocolate. Arguably the most iconic of Canzoneri's fights was the 1933 fight against Kid Chocolate, a legendary boxer at the time. The fight was unpredictable from start to finish, though the kid landed blow after blow on Canzoneri, getting him on the ropes quite a few times and pounding him relentlessly. Canzoneri's power was ultimately the deciding factor of this fight, though. By the 12th round, the fighter had boxed more than he had in the entire match, with the kid focusing on defensive maneuvers like bobbing, slipping, weaving, and ducking. But he couldn't keep this up for much longer. It was clear that Canzoneri had tired him out by the 15th round. The final score of this fight was 7 for Canzoneri, 4 for Chocolate, and 4 even. And get this fight wasn't their first, but it was a rematch for Kid Chocolate and Canzoneri's initial fight, where Canzoneri managed to knock out Kid in just 2 rounds. It was the first time in which the Kid had been KO'd in 100 fights, and one of the only 2 times in which the great Cuban champion had been stopped at 152 bouts. Though the initial fight was much shorter and impactful, literally, the rematch was a great display of both fighters' individual prowess and a great amount of potential Tony Canzoneri had in the ring. Now on to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is undoubtedly one of the most legendary boxers of all time, critically acclaimed to be the greatest heavyweight champion boxer in all history. His ranking and box rec is a whopping 2,076 points, and bear in mind that these points are given based on a boxer's rival and the outcome of the fight, which is 228 more than Evander Holyfield, who stands in second place. Though these are innumerable fights that can be categorized as Ali's best, an honorable mention has to be the fighter's spectacular win in all 6 rounds against Tony Hunsaker, his first professional fight, believe it or not, when he was only 18. This fight alone was enough to kickstart Ali's rise to fame. However, arguably the most legendary fight of his career was as follows: Ali vs. Liston. On February 25th, 1964, Ali stepped into the ring against Liston, who was a huge crowd favorite. So much so that 43 out of 46 sports reporters polled Liston to win the fight. Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, was still a fresh face in the ring, and facing off against Liston was no small feat. The latter was the heavyweight champion after he had KO'd Floyd Patterson. Ali was confident, enigmatic, and self-assured in his fights, something that made the older, refined fans grit their teeth. But this fight ensured that the newbie was no unreasonable show-off either. His fighting style was unconventional, with him swerving and dancing away from Liston's powerful punches, all the while sending quick and brutal jabs to Liston's head. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee in action. He was so nimble that Liston injured his own muscles as he missed his target time and time again in the first round. But by the time they decided to stop the fight in the 6th and 7th round, he and Ali had equal points. There were audience speculations that Liston had faked his injury to throw the fight, but there was no proof to support that rumor. For example, something like a change in bidding odds right before the fight. Therefore, Ali was the winner of the fight by technical knockout, pulling off one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. And now we have Joe Louis. Known as one of the most dominant champions in boxing history, Joe Brown Bomber Lewis's reign of 12 consecutive years, holding the record of 25 back-to-back title defenses against the best fighters of his time. 17 of these 25 defenses were against the top 10 boxers of his era. From 1930 to 1956, 9 fighters were crowned heavyweight champions, and Lewis KO'd 7 of them. Lewis versus Khan. In 1941, Lewis took part in arguably one of the biggest bouts of his career against Billy Khan, aka the cocky Pittsburgh Kid, who was one of the top 10 heavyweight champions of the time. This match is undoubtedly one of the greatest in boxing history, continuing for 13 rounds, with Louis eventually defeating Khan by knocking him out in the last round. The fight was as iconic as it was, not just because of the boxer's prowess, but because of the stark contrast between them. Lewis's quiet dignity next to Khan's brash confidence made him an instant and well-respected crowd favorite. Lewis returned to the ring in June 1946 to fight Khan once again, but this time in front of 45,000 spectators in the Yankee Stadium, with thousands more watching on live television, a recent development. What happened next? The Brown Bomber KO'd Khan in no more than 2 minutes and 19 seconds into the 8th round. It took the fighter 5 fewer rounds and only 3 powerful punches to end the rematch. Allegedly, the first blow was one to the right of Khan's head, making his knees give, and the second landed after Khan folded towards the mat, and the third came as a left hook before he fell completely, followed by a fast right to finally send him to the floor. That was Joe Lewis's 22nd win in defense of the championship he'd won in 1937 against Braddock. Finally, Sugar Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson is considered one of the most acclaimed boxers of all time, considered the best by many. The fighter went on streaks of 40 and 91 unbeaten fights, setting the record against top 10 fighters and champions with over 40 wins. He had 14 wins over the number 1 fighters in his division, and not to mention the unforgettable knockout of La Mota in 13 seconds flat to become the champion. He was a fan favorite not just because of his undeniable skill, but also because of his charm and his charisma. Nobody could dislike him if they tried. The boxer did face a lot of criticism over one thing in particular, though. Fans disliked how much Robinson would go into the ring with the intention of winning, but with as little harm to his rival as possible. Too humane, they called him. That's not to say he was boring of a fighter. No, not at all. He was really fancy. He knew every boxing trick in the book, making him a really entertaining performer. He didn't need to beat the crap out of his opponents to give a good show. Robinson versus Fulmer. In Robinson's first fight against Fulmer in January of 1957, the boxing world was taken aback by Fulmer's defeat of Robinson, letting him win the global middleweight championship. Lucky for Robinson, though, a rematch was scheduled and he had ample time to think about how he would combat Fulmer's unconventional fighting style. In the first 4 rounds, Sugar Ray had been seen employing his cannon-like jab and taller height to prevent Fulmer from cornering him, like they did in their initial fight. In round 5 of the match, Robinson was seen sending a beautiful right cross counter, stunning his rival champion for a while. Mere seconds later, he landed a short, perfect left hook that made Fulmer drop to the ground. To much of the spectators' wonder, Fulmer seemed to be paralyzed to some degree, attempting again and again to stand up, but his legs simply couldn't. Meanwhile, the referee counted to 10, with Fulmer still struggling to get up. He finally managed to stand right before the count was over and instantly collapsed into the referee's arms. Critics say Ray Robinson's left hook may be the single best left hook in all of boxing history. And yeah, we don't disagree. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.